Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today is Thursday. It is November the 20th, which means we've been 20 days into this month, which I think might be the worst PR month, at least in the last 20 years for the FBI. Fun to watch. Just from my end of it, just from sitting on the outside. Got a little bit of that because there was a press conference. They decided they were going to clean up their image. They brought Pam Bondi, all the heavy hitters. They brought Todd Blanche, and they brought Kash Patel to make sure that you guys understand the truth about drug dealers and kingpins and Epstein files and lawful and unlawful orders and what you can do, which means that CBS decided to push back. And they let you know that the FBI used to be more gay than it is today because they got rid of a gay guy for displaying a gay flag that he was given by the gay people who run the FBI's Los Angeles field office, where they flew a gay flag for Pride Month. Anyway, so that's all fun. If you guys were tuning in to hear a recap of the rather epic David Frey, is that how you say his name? I don't know how to say David's last name, but Viva Frey, who has a great podcast on Rumble, and he's a very fair-minded, he's a very kind Canadian man, and he brought on my would-be nemesis, Julie Kelly, to have a discussion about Epstein stuff that we talked about yesterday, and if you want to hear about that, you got to go and listen to yesterday's show so you can understand what I did or didn't say. Because I did say specific things on purpose that very much offended the sensibilities of official spokesperson of Dan Bongino, a.k.a. Julie Kelly. And so she went and did an hour-long demolition session where I basically watched her punch herself in the face for 45 minutes to an hour. I have not laughed that hard in a long time. And if you guys didn't get to see that and you'd like to see it, I will cut it. I've already downloaded it because I couldn't not have a copy myself. I've downloaded it. I'll put it up over on our local side and I'll cut out the beginning and we'll just get straight to the meat. What you will miss is 10,000 live viewers on Rumble ripping this woman apart in the chat, which was quite encouraging to see that the American people do have an understanding of what shoveling BS into your mouth looks like, and they don't have a taste for it anymore. I made an argument to Alex Jones the other day, and I think this is something we should consider. The Trump administration 2.0 is fighting the last war. Just like the DOD often falls prey to this instinct, they fight the previous war during the current war. And if anybody who was part of the GWAT knows, there were tactics, there were techniques, there was equipment that was being used that was inappropriate for the current situation. They were fighting the previous war in the current war. And then after a period of time, the necessity of that war catches up with them, and then they kind of catch up and then they do it again. Right now, the Trump administration is still trying to do last administration's PR push. Like, if we come out and say a bunch of BS to you, it will work. It won't work anymore. The rules on the ground have changed. This version of the information war, this iteration, the battles that are going on right now are different. They cannot be fought in the same way. And so just coming out and telling us that everybody is great and we have the best people and they do the best things and all these things are incredible and you have to just accept it because we're playing at a high level, that gaslighting tactic will not work anymore. It does not fly, and it will not fly. I hope they catch on sooner than later. Again, this is a thing that the people who are in the GWAT understand. It took a couple of years before the ground tactics caught up with the necessity to adapt and overcome against the enemy. So we'll talk about all those things as well. We'll also talk about gear because that's a good thing. Let's get started off with that right now. I didn't even bring up the rules. I have to sometimes stick to a script only because there are some things that are more litigious than others. And this is one of our more litigious requirements. Let's talk about my friends over at Undertac, the world's most comfy underwear, possibly. I guess it depends on how you wear them. What if I told you could win $100,000 in gold, but you have to act before December the 2nd. Our friends at Undertac, who are the makers of the world's most comfortable but also tactical underwear, have partnered with a group called Shared Sweeps to give you a shot at a life-changing prize. $100,000, real gold. That kind of reminds me of the movie or the Yeah, the movie Sing, $100,000. Yeah. For every dollar that you spend over at undertac.com, you can enter to win their sweepstakes. You'll get 2, 3, even up to 5x the entries. You can stack 7,500 total entries in this competition drawing. But you got to shop now, and you're going to better your odds. Use Kyle Win, KYLEWIN, Kyle Win at checkout. You'll save 10% off whatever the sticker price is. Plus, you're going to start stacking those entries up. Every purchase today saves you money straight up. You're going to get good gear, so that's easy. And then you'll also have a chance to win $100,000 in gold. So you're not just chasing a prize. You're upgrading your performance. You can have their outstanding boxer briefs, which I have several pairs of now, and they are quite good. They are 50% more moisture wicking than cotton. They're also just way more comfortable than cotton if you guys are outdoors or you do anything that involves more than just sitting still and not moving your body parts. They've got American-made socks, which are outstanding as well. I've been wearing their socks in the gym. Guys, this giveaway ends on December the 2nd, so do not miss out. You can stock up now. You can buy people Christmas presents, men who do things with their feet and their hands. We'll talk about them in a bit. They appreciate things like good undies and socks, so maybe check them out. Undertac.com. Promo code Kyle Win. There's a link in the show description, and the rules for this particular sweepstakes are also in the show description at the bottom. Check them out. Let's get into today's program. I've got a special gift for you guys today, too. It's not Christmas yet, but you're really going to like this, I think. Boom. Sometimes the buttons do get away from me. For you who are watching the live show and you see it produced live, if you're just listening, you don't know, but I was looking down and I saw the blue button, and there's another blue button on my other little stream deck over here. Here, I'm going to show you guys what I look at. Every day I've got this like collection of buttons. There they are. There's all these buttons. And if I grab the wrong one, maybe one time out of 50, I get the wrong one. So there we go. Let's start off with... I can't help it. I just saw this last night, and it immediately made me send out the meme that we've created. There are two wolves inside of you. One of them is gay, and the other one is gay. You are gay. That's the meme. It's something that reminds me of a buddy of mine who is an FBI employee right now, longtime employee, kind of was my mentor when I was in Washington Field. And he had an away message on his chat. Like that inner office chat thing. We called it Link. There was some other name for it. It's like a Skype type program. And it said, somehow it was like some sort of Nordic theme thing. And it says, inside of you, there are two badgers. One of them is screaming. The other one is screaming. We are all screaming. There's not very many federal employees that are bringing that like pretty aggressively. But here's this story, which we cannot escape. ABC News. I've got a video clip. This guy was also interviewed. He's a sad figure. That is a stern gaze he has there. Look, this is actually a screw up. We don't have to feel a lot of sympathy for someone getting fired for having a gay pride flag in a government building. I don't actually have a ton of sympathy. I actually have almost none. And yet, I also know that this is not the right way to go about these things. You can clean up the workforce without getting rid of people at the ground level. If you change the rules retroactively, that's totally unfair. I also, noticing this story, which is coming from the Associated Press, CBS covered it as well. I think New York Times did a bit. What I also noticed is they did not have the same sort of empathy for guys like me and Garrett O'Boyle and Steve Friend and many others who were being persecuted for their religious beliefs about the COVID-19 vaccine, which was unlawful. I think this guy probably ends up winning in court for whatever it's worth, because he was, it's kind of one of these ex post facto situations where they went after the fact and came after him, because it doesn't sound like he had it currently displayed. Anyway, the story goes, veteran FBI employee is suing the FBI after being fired for displaying a gay pride flag. I think the specifics of it actually do matter in this case, so let's be really fair about it. It's not that he just decided to put the flag up, which I do think is wildly inappropriate, but totally would fly in every iteration of the FBI while I was there. It actually is somewhat worse than that, and I think that actually is another black mark on the way the current administration is handling business. An FBI veteran employee was in training to become a special agent. He was at Quantico. He had finished about 16 weeks of the 19. It used to be 21 weeks, but I guess it's 19 weeks now. 16 weeks of the almost 20 weeks of training. And he was fired for displaying a pride flag, an LGBTQ plus pride flag at his workspace in the Los Angeles field office. The guy's name is David Malkinski, and he worked at the FBI for 16 years. They keep referring to him as a veteran FBI employee, and I guess his veteran status is that he worked for the FBI for 16 years. A couple of weird things about that. Number one, Why, after 16 years, are you applying to be an agent? It doesn't say what his previous job was. I'm trying to read it. I assume he was like an intelligence analyst. That's kind of the move. But kind of a strange thing. And it also means, just like a lot of the people that are inside this agency, I think a lot of government agencies, they're very self-serving. They're kind of like, they're kind of dealing cards to themselves. They bring people in with no previous work experience, and then they educate them in the culture, and then they take them to the top of the ladder, but they've never actually had an actual job outside of it. This is my big problem with a lot of government employees. The ones that I worked with that were capable, that were the most reasonable, that would be interested in your civil liberties, had also lived outside. They'd been cops, they'd been private sector attorneys, they'd worked in computer programming, maybe they were salespeople if they were chatty and capable, military members, people who had lived in something other than the FBI. If you have 16 years of experience and you're still able to actually work for the Bureau as a special agent, the odds are that's probably the only real job you had. In June of 2021, here's the story. June of 2021, the Los Angeles field office displayed a Progress Pride flag, which constitutes a rainbow-colored horizontal stripe and chevron with black, brown, pink, light blue, and white colors. It's meant to represent people of color, as well as the LGBTQ plus community, because everybody knows that if you have dark colored skin, it's basically the same as being gay, queer, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, or plus. I don't know that that's true, but that's what they're claiming here. This is ABC News' story. Maltinsky was given that flag after it came down, and it was displayed in his office workspace with the support and the permission of his supervisors. According to the lawsuit that he just filed, he began training in April at the FBI Academy, which means that he was hired under the previous directors and he was moved into the agent program under the previous directors, selected for that training under the previous directors. He said he's helped lead this diversity initiative while he was in the FBI. I think that's horrible. It's the worst thing that they've done. The DEI programs, the diversity, equity, inclusion programs are terrible, but that doesn't mean that you can come in and then just fire everybody that was a part of it. I don't think. Not in federal employment. Again, no tears for me. This guy's claiming that his First Amendment liberties to speech and his Fifth Amendment rights to equal protection under the law were taken away. Maybe so. I don't know that he's wrong. Again, you don't have to have a lot of sympathy for this guy to also say, this is not how you go about it. You don't just go in there and destroy everybody because they previously had done something. You can give the warning, and then if everybody does the job, then great. Now, the argument about his employment and his capabilities, like all FBI support employees, he was given regular awards, and it sounds like he did his job at least enough to keep it. So there's not a lot of sympathy, and you guys are going to have even less after watching this interview that he sits down with Scott MacFarlane from CBS. But I'm going to play it as another example of there's a right way and a wrong way to go about cleaning up your workforce and changing your culture. And this is a great example of doing it the wrong way. We're going to be fair here, even if we don't have a lot of sympathy, because in theory, if you are a person based on principles, you don't look at the outcome and go, fine, gay guy doesn't work at the FBI anymore, so be it. That's not actually a position you can hold, because that can very easily and was actually turned and used on us. Now, I can also point out that the news media had zero sympathy for those of us that experienced the same thing. And so I've kind of pinged the folks that are in the background, including the New York Times, who wrote a story about this. It's like, hey, guys, really nice to see that you care about workforce. Really nice to see that you care about the First Amendment. Would have been nice if you did when your guy was in office. That doesn't mean that I changed my opinion about the First Amendment just because it's mean or it goes after people that I'm not particularly interested in protecting on the outside. I don't think there's any constitutional protection to being gay. I don't. I think it's ridiculous. I think the men that wrote the Declaration of Independence, that went out there and created this country, that founded it and then put together and signed their signatures on a constitution, would not have cared. That would have not have been a thing that they were interested in protecting. In any case, you might even feel less sympathetic, but here's Scott MacFarlane doing a very gentle, emotional, triggering interview.
After 16 years inside the FBI's Los Angeles field office, David Maltinsky was just weeks away from a promotion to becoming a special agent. Last month, he was escorted into a meeting and fired.
Were you surprised when you got the word you were to leave?
I wasn't surprised. I was definitely disappointed. I knew, not truly firsthand, but I knew I was on a list.
Maltinsky, who is gay, alleged there was a list of agents management was targeting. After years of service with commendations, the Bureau told Maltinsky he was let go because of an inappropriate display of political signage in his work area. This is what he had displayed, a pride flag which had been presented to him by the FBI after it flew outside the FBI's LA field office.
I don't know what their goal was, but it was to send a chilling effect throughout the men and women at the FBI. It was effective. Many gay colleagues have removed pride flags from their desks.
Horrified by the Pulse nightclub shooting in 2016, Maltinsky helped support the Bureau's diversity initiatives and was honored for it. The Trump administration has targeted efforts to ensure diversity in its workforce. FBI Director Kash Patel has testified staff would not be fired over politics.
The only actions we take, generally speaking, for personnel at the FBI are ones based on merit and qualification and your ability to uphold your constitutional duty. You fall short, you don't work there anymore.
In his lawsuit, Maltinsky argues his firing amounts to discrimination and wants his job back.
We're not the enemy. We're not some political mob. We're proud members of the FBI, and we have a mission to do.
The FBI told CBS News it wouldn't comment on Maltinsky's lawsuit. Scott McFarland, CBS News, Washington.
I love these little hits. So, a couple things. He mentioned the word a chilling effect. Again, where was this? I didn't hear members of the gay community, whatever that looks like, inside the Bureau that were crying that Christians were being removed because of their pro-life beliefs and they didn't want to get a COVID shot that they thought violated their principles. That turned out to be an unlawful mandate, and it was suspended. I didn't see them rise up. I didn't see anybody rise up, to be honest with you. What I saw was cowardice. That being said, Kash Patel went on record, and this is a real problem. When people inside our government go forward and say something under oath, like we are not going to go and make this political, this is the wrong way to go about it. Even though I generally agree with the idea that you should be removing your sexual orientation from your workspace, which you should, I just don't think it's relevant. I had a colleague who worked literally in the cubicle just next to me when I first started. And I found out after several years of knowing her that she apparently was bisexual. I had no idea. It wasn't relevant. I knew she got married to a guy. Apparently, it had some weird shenanigans going on. Their extracurricular activities, including the weird sort of things that were going on in their marriage, weird to me, weird and not traditional. It wasn't part of her work. Her work was that she showed up every day and she did her job. So good on her. She was a military veteran. She felt like she was being discriminated against, not because she was a bisexual lady. She thought she was being discriminated against because she was a veteran, which is something that we've seen inside the FBI. They actually go after veterans in a weird way. So if you're going to depoliticize things, I think both sides need to really realize, one, stop flaunting it and stop trying to tell me what you do with your genitals like that somehow matters to me at my job. Either you're competent or you're not. And maybe this guy was really competent. I hope he was. This is a silly thing to get fired over. This is a silly, and it's a self-own, because this is going to get tied up in the courts. And the most likely thing is you did it in the Ninth Circuit and you're going to lose. You're going to lose this particular battle, which is a stupid battle to get involved in when there are actual real problems that go on and there is a real cultural issue. What should have been done is exactly what we said. Send out the mandate, competence first. We're going to do merit over DEI, meritocracy over diversity and inclusion. We don't care about whatever it is you were into before. Starting today, you will be judged on performance and capabilities. And if that is not the rule, if we're just going to go target people and make examples of this guy, he's a real sympathetic man. Look, he's an attractive guy. He's well-spoken. I'm sure he was capable of getting into the academy. He's physically fit if he's doing it there. Stupid self-own. And this seems like it's inevitable with this administration. They're still fighting the last war. It's like a BS culture push. And I'm sort of hanging in on this because I keep seeing the same problems. And everybody who wants to go out there and say, well, you just don't understand. There's a method to the madness. I don't think there is. And Alex Jones doesn't either. We got a little cameo appearance by Alex Jones here. I rip this because this is the man who's actually seen it. Does Alex Jones get everything right? No. None of us do. It turns out we're all fallen human beings. But he's been out there in the trenches doing things. He's had probably the worst ridiculous lawsuit levied against him in a way that is completely antithetical to the First Amendment. So he deals with problems that most people can't even fathom. $1 billion judgment against you is, I'm going to go on a limb and say that there's nobody in our audience that is dealing with a personal $1 billion judgment against them. And if he can look at it and say, these guys are not doing the right job, and there are plenty of people in the administration that need to be straightened out, and they're stepping on their own dicks, it seems like on purpose, or because they are fighting last war today, and they should have adapted their tactics. I'm going to suggest to you, he's right. They are doing something stupid and they should be called out. So I heard this. I wanted to share it with you guys. This is not my special gift to you. I actually have a musical gift to you that you will need to download yourself. But before we do that, let's do Alex Jones calling out the white pillars, the people that just want to put their head in the sand. Send this to a Q-tard.
So the white pill babies out there that literally are like a cult. Jones criticizing, burn him at the stake. You're idiots. You don't know anything about any of this. You're lightweights. You're very thin context and depth. Okay? I'm trying to be mean to you. I'm just like, until you have any gravitas, don't sit there because it makes you feel powerful and criticize me that I'm with the Democrats. I'm trying to stop Trump. We need to just agree with whatever bad people and his admin are doing and shut up, and he plays 10,000 quadrillion 3D chess, and if we just get on our knees, it'll be fine. No, you already saw that in the first admin, that he admitted was overrun, and you people back then said it was all 10,000 trillion 3D chess. You were full of shit. You were wrong. So I don't listen to you. I didn't listen to you then. I know I was right. I know I'm right now. I'll be put in president if the Democrats get back in. I need him to succeed. Don't you ever sit there and tell me that I'm some Democrat operative or that I'm a sellout. You don't know anything. You don't have the scars. You haven't had your family attacked. You're anonymous people, most of you. Don't you look at a man scarred from the real wars and tell me who I serve. My record stands on its own. The only reason I bring that up is not to defend myself, but I'm tired of people acting like children.
I love all of that, by the way, and I just put it out. I reshared it over on social media because that concept of man in the arena is lost on people who are not in the arena. Anybody who if you haven't lost something, if you haven't lost a job like this guy that from the FBI just did. Now he's part of it. He now has a scar that is more than most. If you lost a job over COVID, you know what I'm talking about. If you've had your faith in the American system destroyed because of what they did on January 6th, then you know what I'm talking about. And not because you just saw it on TV. I mean, someone came into your home and took your freedom. There's a reason why this push has to happen. And the man in the arena syndrome, the thing that some of us have actually seen, it's real. And the fatigue is very high, which is why I have zero tolerance for an administration that doesn't do things when they could do better. And it's so easy because people know. I thought we hired people who did because we put a bunch of political commentators in there that had been calling out the problems for literally years, and they immediately went back to the same old business. And I want to show you this story as an example that the same old business continues on. This is kind of a grab bag show today of news stories. We've kind of been focused in on some things, the Baker story and I think the long-term question of what happened on January 6th with the pipe bombers. It's critical to understanding in a microcosm. But broadly speaking, we have not seen the change that was promised. And this story is a great example of it. One of the first things that I came out and said, which I think was very impactful for people, is that the demand for white supremacy by the FBI, by our federal law enforcement, to include DHS and others, it's not just the FBI's business, that demand is higher than the actual supply. It doesn't quite exist. And rather than have people go in there that solve that problem, what they did is they went and they just doubled down and they just tweeted this out as a victory. This is the victory. A leader of a white supremacist group has pled guilty to soliciting hate crimes and sending instructions to make bombs and ricin. Does that sound good? Sounds like, yeah, is that a win? Until you realize every freaking time it's the same case. It's always been the same case. This is the strongest argument that there has been almost no change, that the playbook continues on no matter who's in charge, because the FBI runs itself and the clowns that are out there trying to be serious are not. And I will give you more examples of that in a minute. Earlier today at the federal courthouse, this is going back to Monday, so this is going back to the beginning of this week, a Georgian national named Mikhail, I can't pronounce this last name, I'm not even going to try. It's CHKHIHVISH. There's like 4 H's in this name and 9 I's. Chikaviga, who freaking knows? Also known as Minka, also known as Commander Butcher or the Butcher. So let's just call him that because that's way easier. He pled guilty to soliciting hate crimes, not participating in them, but asking for people to do it and sending instructions to make bombs and ricin. He's the leader of a maniac murder cult, all capitals, an internationally racially motivated violent extremist group, which you can basically substitute for white supremacy, which is the FBI's sort of end around, even though they only go after one type. The Butcher recruited people to commit violent acts in furtherance of the maniac murder cult ideologies, including planning and soliciting high casualty attacks in New York City. He was wanted and was expected that he wanted to do something against a synagogue. Here's Kash Patel's statement on it. With today's guilty plea, the defendant admits to a horrific plot targeting Jewish people and racial minorities, and he even planned to poison children with candy around the holidays. The defendant was extradited from Moldova to face charges here. This case shows you that no matter where you are, if you try to harm our citizens, the FBI and our partners will find you and they will bring you to justice, says FBI Director Kash Patel. Got to have that strong thing. We should go to the fact of the matter where we find out that, of course, there was going to be an undercover involved, wasn't there? I mean, could you sense the playbook from the beginning? In June of 2022, that was under Chris Wray, just saying, under Biden, the Butcher traveled from Brooklyn, New York. Beginning as early as July of 2022, he repeatedly encouraged others, primarily via encrypted messaging applications known as Telegram, to commit violent hate crimes and other crimes on behalf of this maniac murder cult. This included soliciting acts of mass murder in New York from an individual who, unbeknownst to the subject, was an undercover FBI employee. Ah, yes, of course it would be an undercover. Beginning approximately November of 2023, also under Biden, also under Chris Wray, just since we're keeping score here, and apparently that's what this guy does. This guy solicited the undercover to commit violent crimes such as bombings and arsons for the purpose of harming racial minorities and Jewish individuals and others. I don't know why they call out Jewish people specifically, but they do. In November 2023, he began planning a mass casualty attack in New York to take place on New Year's Eve. The scheme involved having an individual dress up as Santa Claus and hand out candy laced with poison to racial minority groups. I mean, these are all a-hole plans. Like, these are all awful, for sure. The scheme evolved, and the guy specifically directed the undercover to target Jewish community groups, Jewish schools, and Jewish children in Brooklyn with poison. I've always found that Jewish children are the most likely to be interested in Christmas candy from Santa Claus. Maybe that's something you guys have also found. He also sent detailed manuals about creating and mixing lethal poisons and gases, including ricin. All of this was to an undercover in the FBI, who under no circumstances was going to do this, so there was actually no danger or risk. This is what you pay for with your $11 billion a year. This is your FBI. It's the same FBI. It continues to be the FBI. The same people who were running it then are running it today. And the same people who are celebrating that indictment and told Kash Patel, this is great. This stuff is outstanding. They're the ones that are promoting the same old FBI that it always was. And celebrating the victory over a white supremacist guy who only was able to convert one person to violent acts, and that person just happened to be the ever so willing FBI undercover who was in the chat. Why are we buying this stuff at this point? Again, they're fighting an old battle, and you're trying to sell me something that the old administration did, which was that it was about race, and it was about skin color, and about other nonsense, which is crazy. And in the meantime, this is the same administration that came out, gun swinging, guns blazing, arms swinging, saying, we're going to get you the Epstein files during the campaign, and then has been fighting it tooth and nail for the last 9 months. So I got a little bit about that, because the Epstein fight, the fight for that bill, has been quite interesting. It's also exposed some people, including Hakeem Jeffries, exposed them to some scrutiny that they don't like. So let's cover that real quickly. Hakeem Jeffries calls the oversight chair, Mr. Comer, a stone cold liar. They always have to get really colorful and graphic when they're most outraged. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries batted away questions Wednesday whether he sought campaign donations from Jeffrey Epstein, calling the House Oversight Chairman James Comer a stone cold liar after Comer alleged Tuesday that he had in fact solicited money from the convicted sex offender in the year 2013. So we're going back, 15, 16 years now, and claiming you did this bad thing back then. Some stuff has come out more recently, including about one of our favorite members of Congress who is a non-voting member, a woman named Stacey Plaskett, who was particularly disgusting when she questioned FBI whistleblowers. And apparently she was live texting with Jeffrey Epstein while asking questions that related to his story. which is kind of interesting. So I've got a little clip about that. Comer says the Democrats have been silent about their colleagues' coordination with Jeffrey Epstein. Another email shows that Democrat fundraisers invited Epstein to an event or to meet privately with Hakeem Jeffries in 2013 as part of their effort to build a Democrat House majority. I'm confident that both sides are going to end up dirty in this. And both sides have been fighting and been play fighting that they were going to do something about it. This one may be one of the more gnarly ones. But guess what? This is the reason why the Epstein scandal is the scandal that it is. It's always about the same thing. People who have way more money have access to a different version of justice and a different justice system than we do, and they get to play by different rules when they do things that are atrocious, to include the worst crimes that we can think of, which means going after children and destroying their innocence. This is why Epstein will never go away. It's why it never has gone away, and it's why whenever you touch it, it should taint you as very disgusting, as the kind of person that's willing to get as dirty as there is. That's why people were so emotionally connected to a story, even if the details are still sketchy and they don't have all the information. And apparently, we're supposed to get those files. Guys, I'll go on record right now. I don't think we're going to get anything of substance. Does anyone want to contradict that? Please put that as a comment. You can do it over on YouTube. You could do it on Rumble. You could put a comment on Spotify if you're watching there. I'll read all those. That's the other reason why Spotify is really good, by the way. Just like the other video platforms, there's a comment series. It's not just like leave a review. You can actually comment individually on an episode. I want to know, do you think we're actually going to get something now that they have a bill signed in? The president actually signed it? Because I don't think they will. This story is probably one of the uglier pieces. This is Plaskett, again, non-voting representative, talking to her constituent, just a regular guy who just totally happens to text a congresswoman while she's in the middle of a hearing. Isn't that what you guys do? When you see someone who's doing something like they're talking about, I don't know, like child trafficking, or maybe you see like an FBI whistleblower scenario, or maybe you're worried about Make America Healthy Again and they're doing vaccines, and your congressman is not asking the right questions that you want as a constituent, don't you just text them from your cell phone and then they grab it on C-SPAN and then they text you back? Isn't that how that works for you too? Or does being a billionaire creep give you special access to people who are kind of inclined to dealing with creeps?
And of the work that needs to be done.
We know that Epstein had property in the Virgin Islands, right?
Yes.
What was your relationship with Epstein?
So Jeffrey Epstein was a constituent. He was a resident of the Virgin Islands, lived there, I guess, more than half of the year because he was registered there. I had received donations from him after the last investigation came out, which was after this texting. I gave any donations that I had previously received from him to women's organizations and did not have any contact with him. But like many constituents, individuals get your phone number, they text you about issues, they speak with you. I have spoken with him about issues that are relevant, things that are going on in the Virgin Islands and elsewhere around the country.
Are you guys buying that? Is that normal? Just like so many of the constituents out there, how many of you guys have phone numbers for your congressperson? I have a relatively high profile in the area that I live. I don't have my congressman's phone number. I have a couple of people's phone number, but they don't respond back to it, generally speaking. That's been my experience of it. He's just a regular guy who was also a donor, who also just had my phone number, who was also just live texting with me. And, they go on and ask, and they go, listen, why were you taking the information from this guy, though? He was a known sex offender at the time that you were dealing with him. And she was like, yeah, like, well, a lot of people, when they're prosecutors, and I don't think that if you're a member of Congress that you are prosecuting anyone. But sure enough, she says, yeah, I was just taking information from the best source. Sometimes you got to deal with unsavory people to get good leads when you want to be asking questions in the middle of a congressional hearing. And I need to correct myself. I called her a representative. She's not a representative. She's a delegate. Again, she's a non-voting delegate to Congress representing the Virgin Islands. For some reason, she was also, this is how serious the Democrats took the weaponization committee. They put someone who couldn't even vote in Congress as their ranking member on the left side of the aisle. Just so you guys know, that's how serious they took the issues of weaponized government. Maybe that's why Kash Patel is able to weaponize it the other way. That just nobody cares. Nobody cares. And as long as we have the ring of power, we're good to go. Here she is explaining away what I think is kind of unexplainable. And CNN's giving, even the CNN people are kind of going like, wait, what? You said what?
Wait, let me just better understand that. What is that point? Because at the time he was a known sex offender and it had been detailed all the sexual abuse.
There are a lot of people who have done a lot of crimes. And as a prosecutor, you get information from people where you can.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have done a lot of crimes. You think this guy has any congressman's phone numbers? The white supremacist leader, the butcher with the unpronounceable name? Do you think, he's done a crime? Lots of people have done crimes. How dare you claim that I wouldn't know? I wouldn't be able to just talk to somebody with a crime in their background. Do these people ever even hear themselves talk? Do you think they ever watch their greatest hits and go like, God, I hope the news cycle keeps moving. I really don't want to deal with that one again. That was one of my worst. You'd think that they probably do. I don't think they have any self-awareness. By the way, one of the funny kind of inside stories that we have, after my buddies went in May of 23, and I think it was May of 23, went and testified in front of Congress. This is Garrett O'Boyle, Steve Friend. They go out, and Marcus Allen, and they're sitting there and they do their testimony. They left the office building where the hearing was going on, and then they're walking on the street, and I guess Stacey Plaskett, who was just an absolute witch to them in the actual hearing, goes riding by on her bicycle past them and doesn't even know who they are. And it's kind of hard not to know who Garrett is, because Garrett's like a big dude. He's got long, big hair, and he's wearing a suit that he looks like he probably shouldn't be wearing a suit. He should be wearing like a singlet and WWE kind of thing. Anyway, just really funny to me that these people, this is all theater for them. And that's when they get called on the theater, it's confusing. They're like, oh, wait, how do we do with this? What do I say? All right. Let me do a quick read for our friends over at my Patriot Supply, which will just remind you that we're talking about COVID. We're talking about the corrections that are not happening. I don't think things are going to stay good in this country. I feel like we're slowly declining either way. It doesn't matter who's in office. We know that inflation's still going that way. So if you guys learned any lessons over COVID, you probably bought some food preparedness. If you didn't, you're way behind the curve here. And emergency food is a good thing to have, but you should also know how to prepare it. So maybe you don't want to make that mistake of having a bunch of stuff that you cannot cook and you cannot actually consume. So let's fix that right now. People get the emergency food supply. They have no way to cook it. They have the power go out or the grid goes down, and then they panic. This is why my Patriot Supply has the Black Friday Survival Special. It is a 4-week emergency food kit. You can always plus up on that. Plus, it comes with $150 worth of free gifts to include everything you need to actually prepare said emergency meals. There's a cook stove, there's fuel, there's fire starters, there's water purifier, there's a bug out bag to carry it in case you got to get it on the run, something you might want to leave in a vehicle, something you might need to give to a family member who needs to get your way, and it might take them a couple days to get there if things are screwed up. Complete survival kit. It's at mypatriotsupply.com/Kyle, mypatriotsupply.com/Kyle. If you are one of the, I think there's like a quarter of you that watch this on a television, you can actually hold your phone up and you can scan the QR code that you see right there. I have to double check that it's on there. Yeah, there's a QR code right there on the screen. So you guys could scan that there. You can also look at the link in the show description if you want to scroll down anywhere else. It is only available through Black Friday, which is coming up. We're like a week away and change. Check out everything that's included over there. You're seeing a lot of it on the screen. Go to their website and look at it if you have not solved it. And if you're looking for a good gift for somebody who has most things but not everythings, maybe this is the way that you go in there. All right. We talk about bad guys who have access to members of Congress. We talk about bad guys who have members. Maybe you can get more access if you have fentanyl. Can fentanyl buy you access? Maybe not, but it might buy you a federal indictment. An accused fentanyl kingpin. I honed in on the story because of the word kingpin. He was dubbed, it says Brother W-A-N-G. Based on my knowledge of working in counterintelligence against the Chinese, I believe that's Brother Wang, but it looks like Brother Wang when you see it. And so we're American here. We're going to call him Brother Wang. He will appear in a United States court. He was captured in Cuba. So we are looking all over God's green earth to run down and catch bad guys who are doing drug trafficking. Call me crazy, but I thought the FBI actually announced that they solved the problem of fentanyl the other day and that tens of thousands of lives were already saved. Were they not? Chinese drug trafficking suspect who escaped custody in Mexico was then recaptured in Cuba. Bad turn of luck for you, friend. Has been turned over to the United States to face the charges and large quantities of cocaine and fentanyl that he was moving into the country. His name is, really? Is this what we're going to do? Ji Dong Wang. Come on, man. Also known as Brother Wang, which is actually pronounced Wong. Among other aliases, he pled not guilty to the charges in his arraignment on Wednesday in a Brooklyn court. 2 Brooklyn courts. One, a white supremacist. The other, fentanyl. Sure. The lawyers declined to comment following the court appearance. He ran a vast drug trafficking and money laundering operation, importing thousands of pounds of narcotics into the United States, as they are wont to do. Todd Blanche stepped up. There was a big press conference discussing this and other cool things, to include our FBI director telling you not about this guy, but about a different guy who apparently was a modern day person. I want you to listen to this clip because, as usual, this is bluff and this sort of like blustery nonsense. I want you to tell me, I guess you can make the argument that Pablo Escobar was not a modern day figure since he stopped and was like, I think he died in like 93. Does that sound right? I should double check that. But I think 1993 was when Pablo Escobar's reign. But that's modern to me. Call me crazy. And then El Chapo Guzman, who was like still operating a couple of days ago. Patel is going to tell you that he found another guy that is a modern day version of them, also a kingpin, and you're not allowed to be a kingpin, which is why I found that story so interesting about the fentanyl brother Wang. Fentanyl kingpin. You're seeing it on the screen. I'm not crazy. I don't know how the word kingpin has gotten into the lexicon, but this is where the man's going with it. So enjoy this press conference touting the great victories of going after drug kingpins who are modern day versions of other drug kingpins who are also modern day versions of themselves.
You do not get to be a drug kingpin and evade the law. Make no mistake about it. Ryan Wedding is a modern day iteration of Pablo Escobar. He's a modern day iteration of El Chapo Guzman. This Justice Department and this FBI will work with our Canadian counterparts and the government officials across the world to bring him to justice. He is responsible for engineering a narco-trafficking and narco-terrorism program that we have not seen in a long time. He will not evade justice. We are here today because this Department of Justice, behind Attorney General's brilliant leadership and the Deputy Attorney General, have made it clear to the American people with the indictments they have brought that law enforcement and agencies like this FBI will lead the effort to go out there and make sure these animals are brought to justice. And that's exactly what we will do. This step, this interagency step, is a huge, huge step towards obtaining justice for so many American lives lost and so many American lives saved. Thanks to the courageous efforts of law enforcement. This is what a great team looks like, working together for the American people under the motto that President Trump set forth to make America safe again. It's incredibly humbling for this FBI to be a part of it and to lead out the efforts on Ryan Wedding. And for those of you out there that have any information on Ryan Wedding, now is the time to speak up. Now is the time to help us. This FBI has always engaged the public around the world for their assistance in bringing some of the world's most dangerous criminals and terrorists to justice. And we are doing so again today. He will not evade justice. He will not evade our capture. He will not evade arrest, and he will not evade prosecution. Because of the Attorney General's leadership here today, we are taking a huge step in that direction. And I'm honored to be a part of this FBI and leading its men and women in law enforcement on a daily basis.
He's running out of steam, so I'm just going to cut away. That's so bad. How many times did he say this FBI? I think we should do a drinking game. He got one sniff in that I counted, so that's funny. Multiple praises for Attorney General Pam Bondi. Well done. Couple of praises for the president. That was good. He's super honored. You know who was not honored? His girlfriend was not honored at the CMA Awards last night. I just saw that as a passing story. I threw it out on social media for those of you who are interested. I assume that there'll be a pending indictment for the people that decide who gets a CMA. They missed a country music sensation trademark, so they are probably going to find themselves under the boot of this aggressive FBI. This aggressive FBI will not tolerate that. By the way, that whole thing that he was talking about is a guy that's not in custody. He was a snowboarding Olympian from Canada, who apparently is a modern-day El Chapo Guzman, who is also a modern-day El Chapo Guzman. El Chapo Guzman is a modern-day El Chapo Guzman. So there's that. There's a $15 million reward on this guy who has not been caught. It's just a weird... Everything about these press conferences are awkward and weird. And I'm going to give you a gift because I made you deal with that. And I'll let the chat decide. Do you guys want your gift now, or do you want to hear Pam Bondi's take on this too? Because I will actually I'll go to the board here and let you guys decide. You can have a gift now, and you can enjoy something fun, but then we're going to have to go and have our medicine, which is Pam Bondi, or we can do Pam Bondi first, and then we can have the gift in a moment, which I think is pretty epic. You guys don't know what you want. You're not real sure what you want. You're going to get Pam Bondi is what you're going to get. Pam Bondi also had thoughts to say, because what we don't have is the Epstein files. And so people are curious. Now, after you've already said that we weren't going to get them and there was nothing there, now you're going to give them something. And now there's a law that says you must give them. And so what's the story here? Do you have anything for us? Pam Bondi has an equally articulate argument as Kash Patel going after modern day kingpins who are modern day kingpins, just like other modern day kingpins. Sorry, I'm just sarcastic today. I can't help it.
Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information that new information, additional information, and again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads. If there are any victims, we encourage all victims to come forward, and we will continue to provide maximum transparency under the law.
There's information now. There was information, but now there is information, and maximum transparency and information is what's changed, is that we have the information that we previously didn't have from the information. I feel like somebody said we deserve better psyops to me the other day. And I don't think we do. I think we have the psyops we deserve because there are a lot of people that will cheer her on. And they're like, she's great. She's killing it. Like, has there ever been a less articulate? They have the same delivery. The delivery sounds like they're both out of breath in the middle of saying something while they're standing still. And I don't know if it's nerves. It doesn't make any sense. It would be. Or if they just know what they're saying is completely full of crap. I'm going to throw a Tom Massie thing at you. The question comes up. Why do we think they keep hiding the thing? Why is this Jeffrey Epstein, the unkillable news story that will never go away? Well, before we actually do a Tom Massie, let me tell you why. A guy some of you used to listen to already told you why. Because it's not just about that. It's about they're lying to you, and what will they lie to you else? Like, what else will they sling at you and say, believe this crap? Again, they're playing the old tactics against a new audience. The new audience is hip to it. Everybody that's listening right now is more educated. You have different choices. You don't have to go to Fox News only. There are infinite opportunities for you to find independent journalism and people that are not going to be controlled by whatever the mainstream levers are. This guy actually knew about that, didn't he?
I would. This isn't about Epstein or 9/11 or JFK or RFK. It is, but it isn't. It's about a bigger thing. If you're lying about that, you're lying about everything. Who's on the Epstein tapes, folks? Who's on those tapes? Who's in those black books? Why have they been hiding it?
Dano, you tell us, man. You're the one in charge out there. Can you help us out? Yesterday, he announced that public corruption will not be tolerated. It sounds like because he works for Kash Patel, it will be encouraged or mandatory based on the use of the jet and some of the other nonsense out there that they try to spin. I don't know. It's just interesting to see these guys have they flipped so aggressively, because I agree with what he just said there. Yeah, it's not about the Epstein files. It's about the fact that you will lie to our face, like I just saw in that press conference. Here's Massie. You don't have to like Massie. You don't even have to like what he stands for to guess that he's probably correct in this. I also got a phone call that said something to that effect yesterday. I won't say who. Here we go.
It's that simple.
Why do you think he is working so hard not to get them released for so many months? What do you think the real reason is?
These files implicate billionaires and friends of his and political donors that he's trying to protect. And Epstein also had close ties to our own intelligence agencies and Israel's intelligence agencies. That's why there's so much effort in trying to stop this. And I do believe they'll try to stop it somewhere else. And that's going to backfire on them too.
So the president...
I mean, he's right. We're not going to get those files. They're not going to set them out. They gave some carve outs for what it is. And just let's be real serious about this. There's nothing in those files. These are not the droids that you're looking for. Let me do it with a pretty lady who will talk to you. She's a mom. She has a cross on her neck. She would not be lying to you, would she? She's a totally honest operator as a spokesperson for the White House.
So this idea that there's files that the DOJ is hiding or that this administration is not being transparent is just totally false. It's a fallacy. And I understand people have questions, and when you're on the outside, you're skeptical of government, and people should be. But there is literally nothing to hide. And President Trump has maintained that this entire time. And so, again, this is a classic playbook being run by the Democrats. And
This isn't about Epstein or 9/11 or JFK or RFK. It is, but it isn't. It's about a bigger thing. If you're lying about that, you're lying about everything. Who's on the Epstein tapes, folks? Who's on those tapes? Who's in those black books? Why?
I'm just saying, who's on those tapes? You know what I didn't know about her? This is an interview that was with Miranda Devine. She has a thing called Pod Force One. I think it's her show, but yeah. She has this interview series. She sits down with Carolyn Levitt, who's the White House spokesperson, and she said something that made me, I feel neutral about her. I feel like White House spokespeople, like their job is to lie. That's what they do. They go out and cover for the administration. They're, political hack-ish people, regardless of how much you like them, or, they're coming from a slant. They're professional propagandists. So if you're going to go out and attack Ginger Goebbels and you're going to go after Sideshow Bob, that's, Karine Jean-Pierre and the other one. If you're mad at those people and you think that they lied to you, like ours do the same. The one thing that is always interesting about it is like, who's the person behind that face? I did not know this particular fact, and I'm just sharing it with you because maybe you didn't know either, and maybe it changes the way you think about certain people. But when you meet somebody and you find out that their husband is older than their dad, or damn near it, it does make me ask some other questions too. I walk away going, that's the kind of thing where you walk away with your spouse and you're like, honey, those two are interesting, aren't they?
And in the meantime, you've got married, had a baby.
Yeah.
Tell us about your husband.
Sure.
And how you met, and also the fact he's, I think, 32 years older than you, which is unusual. But
it is.
But you're a very mature person, so probably could you not find boys your own age who were as mature? Or,
honestly, no. If you want to know the truth, but. No, he is amazing. And we met during my congressional campaign. A friend of mine who owns a restaurant is also a mutual friend of my husband's. And he invited my husband to my event at his restaurant, and we met, and we were acquainted as friends for quite some time. But then, of course, we fell in love. And here we are today. We're married with a beautiful baby. And he is just an amazing guy. He's very introverted, unlike me.
Oh, really?
Yes, he stays behind the scenes. He's not on social media. He's very private.
I just thought that was really weird. She's 28. And then I went looking and I went, well, how old's her dad? It's not obvious to me, but like he's got to be about the same age as her husband. So that's just strange. And then I went, you know what I love about conservative women and the people that represent the GOP is how conservative they are, because she got engaged, then she had a baby, and then she got married. I got friends that did the same thing. I just don't see them walking around touting themselves as like icons of the Republican Party. They're probably not even Republicans, if I had to guess. I don't know. It's just an interesting thing out there in the world as you read some of the stuff. You go out there, and so it doesn't mean that the other side is better. The other side is full of like horrific bad ideas, and that's where I wanted to go with the end of the show here, and I'm going to give you our gift in a second. The horrifically bad ideas are universal. I don't love any parties. And when we start talking about the fact that we've got the left is screaming about ICE enforcement, it's just incredible where people will put their efforts, where they will actually spend their time. They will put their face and their name to something that you look at it and you just go, are you serious right now? This is the thing that you think that you were elected to do? So when I tell you that I don't think that our leaders, like we don't deserve better leaders because these are the people that we elected, wherever you're from. And if you live in the place where you can't outvote them and that's who represents you, then that's what you got. And I expect that I will constantly be let down by these people. This is a montage, and I've got a response to it by Todd Blanche. He was also in that press conference with Kash and Pam Bondi. This is a montage that is being pushed around. And it is a bizarre statement because these are the same people that were 100% okay with the illegal COVID mandates. Again, I still think that people are fighting the last war, and they're doing it in a way that's completely illogical to those of us that are sitting here at the front lines, hence my Alex Jones at the beginning here. This is a series of Democrats telling people in the military to resist unlawful orders. And again, just like the gay guy that's fired out of the Los Angeles field office of the FBI, where were you guys? Where was this media push? Where were these principled Democrats when things were happening illegally, let's call it 3 years ago, and so many of us experienced them in a very personal way, and they massively disrupted our lives. Where were they then? That's an open question. I don't actually know the answer to that. Are they really just that unprincipled? It seems likely. You tell me if this hits home to you. If you are a veteran, would this cause you to change your mind? If you are currently or actively in the military right now, if you're in law enforcement, does this move you to resist? Hashtag resist?
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Don't give up the ship. You know what the crazy thing is? I actually believe them. Don't you? Have you seen what Democrats will do when somebody serves the regime faithfully and loyally? They take care of them. They raise tons of money for them. They make sure that they're insulated from law practices. They find a lawyer for them that they can't afford, and they cover the costs of it. Right now, the woman that the Blaze has identified as the pipe bomber has a $1,000 an hour former general counsel for the Department of Homeland Security under Joe Biden. You think that a Capitol police officer turned CIA security guard, force protection gal can afford that on $60 or $75 or $85,000 a year? Or maybe she makes $100. I don't know. Maybe she's a GS-13 without the Leo thing. Do you think she can afford $1,000 an hour attorneys? As someone who's had to deal with this type of attorneys very recently, by the way, it's crippling. It's months of your salary. It's like you better be living on a third of what you make or less if you think you're going to be able to pick up that. And that's only going to get you through the first little taste of it. They seem to have no problem always having the right attorneys that have unbelievable activity and capabilities, and they're fully happy to be there and represent folks who have no business hiring them. Always interesting to me how that works out. Where does that money come from? Oh, they actually have their back. Don't give up the ship. Resist. Todd Blanche had a discussion with that. He went on Sean Hannity, so more propaganda as well. I'm just going to call it what it is. Enjoy this one real quick. I actually do believe them, though. I do think they will have their back. So anybody who wants to resist under this administration is going to be fine.
You're doing a great job. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Please shed light, because I found that extremely alarming.
I hope you found it alarming, and so did I, and so did hopefully every American. You had members of Congress, members of the Senate, encouraging members of our military and members of our intelligence community to go and defy orders. And by the way, there is nothing illegal about what we are doing. There is nothing illegal about what President Trump is doing every single day. To the contrary, he's doing exactly what he said he would do when he won a year ago. And this,
yeah, I don't think he's doing anything illegal. What's crazy is the reaction that people have to the actions. That's what's really wild. I never see this happen on the right. Again, it's because we have jobs and we go to work and we're sitting here and we're hoping that, like, we're always playing defense. There is an active move. There is a march. And I do think that, I played Alex Jones earlier, I think that his concept of the Podesta plan, it's still not out of the play. Something bad will happen in one of these events. Somebody will step up and walk into a law enforcement scenario where they justify deadly force. And this kind of thing, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands of people in every little city that are ready to lose their minds on this, that have been primed with that kind of don't give up the ship attitude, and they're out there. I'm going to show you something. This comes from Stephen Horn, who's a J6er, and he's a journalist, independent, out in North Carolina. Up with liberation. Okay, so we're looking at a march of socialists, and there are upwards of 1,000 people here that are marching through the streets. They're blocking traffic. They've got a police escort. They are clearly, have some sort of official sanction to be there, and they're just cruising and they're mindlessly chanting socialist slogans. These are the same people that are probably like really upset about the cost of groceries, and they're mad that Donald Trump didn't make things cheaper, and they're out there tweeting about that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, these are also the same people, I'm going to drop the volume on this. They're the same people that want more illegal aliens, and they want ICE to not do its job, and they want this nation to not have real borders, and they're wondering why housing costs have gone up and what the pressure upwards is on all costs of goods. And so this is like a completely illogical group of people. They want everything for free. They want things in the most inefficient way possible. They think that they should stop the federal government from doing one of the actual functions of the federal government. I mean, if we're going to argue about what the government can and can't do, I think our national borders are pretty strong. That's a strong argument for what it should actually be doing. And here they are out there chanting about it on an evening when they should be with their kids, or like helping their kids do homework, or prepping for the workday because they're exhausted. The other thing that I saw that was kind of eye-opening to me is how affected an area like Raleigh and Durham and some of these other sort of little areas, Charlotte and whatever else, they all can be affected when you start moving ICE raids into those areas. This is a job site. And I don't know if this guy is faking it. There's always the possibility on the internet that somebody's giving us a fake video. But this job site footage, if this is legit and this really did shut down, for all the people that are crying about affordability, and there's a jobs report that's going to come out later on today that's going to say what happened in September, which I don't know why people have to ask that. You can look in your own pocketbook and know where you're at. You can look at your own neighbors and know where you're at. You shouldn't have to wait for the federal government to tell you whether the economy is working well or not. You should experience it yourself. But if this is a legit shutdown of construction sites, because the entirety of the construction site was illegal aliens that were here and not lawfully allowed to do the work that they're doing, who would have otherwise been doing those jobs? What is the opportunity cost that we have actually sacrificed as a nation to take a bunch of able-bodied men, kick them out of the workforce, and then hire cheaper for people who are, like the guys I used to investigate? I used to investigate MS-13 guys. All of them were in construction. All of them were between the ages of like 16 and 30. Like they were usually towards the early 20s end of it. They were all dirtbags. Like all of them. All of the illegal MS-13 dirtbags worked in construction. And you know what they did with their money? They bought booze. They bought drugs. They bought underage girls. And they would go to these brothels they'd set up that would move around. So they're trafficking young women that are also illegal aliens. So they had their own little illegal economy. And they're making money illegally because they're not allowed to actually represent themselves as a U.S. citizen, and they're not allowed to have like a wage paid. And yet somehow they all got construction gigs. All of them did. That's the 100% chance that we would have to wake up really, really early for MS-13 guys because they were heading off to a job site like by 4 and 5 a.m. So whenever we had MS-13 surveillance, it was like 3 a.m. we had to be starting to post up, which sucks as a job. But it's interesting because I did it for years. And that's why I'm guessing that these construction sites this is probably a legit video. If not, it's got to be close. They've stolen jobs from American men who should have them, and the wages should be commensurate. But if you live 20 guys to a house, not like Americans, and you import third world values and living conditions, we didn't raise those people up to our standards. We just dropped our standards down to them. Anyway, watch this guy walking around this construction site.
Do you guys hear that? Yeah, me neither. This job right here, there's about 3 people working currently. It's just sad, man. It's really sad. Not one single person in sight.
You're just listening. He's walking through an empty construction site. There's like one dude with a hard hat on.
Crazy, man. A lot of people don't realize how this affects the economy so much. I mean, who's gonna finish building this building if everyone that is capable of doing it is getting taken?
Can we just stop for a second and realize how funny it is that he said it that way? He's like, nobody realizes how it affects the economy. Let's just zoom out one notch, take it from a 2x to a 1x. If you zoom out just a little bit, you realize that, yeah, it really does affect the economy. What you did is you just screwed over the indigenous population of this country, the people that actually live in this country that should be able to do that work, because you underbid it with people who came here illegally and will accept less pay and will also accept a lower standard of living. And at what cost? This is the same sort of attitude. I've got a clip that I'm going to pay you from Peggy Flanagan, who wants to be a senator in Minnesota. So yet another sort of bad idea theater. And she's talking about we need to raise the minimum wage and we need to peg it to inflation so that we can pay people minimum wage. And then when it inflates the dollar, then we'll just increase the minimum wage, which will increase the dollar. It's like, do these people have, none of them have ever taken a macroeconomics course, apparently. What this does to the economy is you have screwed the men who work there out of living there. So now you have the same follow-on, which is that nobody is able to work at your construction site and all the kids are empty. People complained about overcrowding of schools and we don't have enough resources. We need to pay more money in taxes. We need to keep the federal education system working so that we can go down and fix all the schools. And it turns out, no, they're not actually overcrowded. There's just probably tens of thousands of illegals in every single school district. And it turns out that when you go after and say, hey, we're going to go out and round up all the people that don't belong in this country and get rid of them, and just the scare thought of it, because they don't have nearly the resources to make that impact. A few hundred people arrested causes tens of thousands of people to not show up for work. So the schools are empty, the church pews are empty, and so are, what, the construction sites? That's the place where Americans were supposed to be. Not illegal aliens who just jumped the line, ran across the border, and came and took up residence here, and then had expectations. And then all the idiots that are crying about the economy are also out there marching in the streets, crying for socialism. It's so wild to see the inability to think. I'm going to play you a couple more little clips of inability to think. Let me finish this one out. There's a few more seconds of this guy walking around, but essentially you got the point. His observation about the effect on the economy, it amuses me to no end.
On the bright side, for those that are okay with it, come work.
That's it.
That's
what people wanted.
That need to be filled. And
yeah, you created space because you got rid of the people who shouldn't have been there in the first place that were taking up space at a lower rate. Nobody minds paying for quality construction. I'll just speak for myself. I do not mind paying more if something is not built like crap. But whenever you see these people who build things like garbage, they slap them up, and then you go find out all the construction errors. And I'm not like a framing carpenter, but I can go and look at bad framing. I'm not a drywall expert, but I run around the house that I'm staying in right now, which was built in 2021, and everything was done with less precision and less pride than I would ever have accepted if I did it myself. And I'm not a pro. So how is it that you have these garbage pros? There's holes in every single outlet around me. Right? You have the outlet faceplate, and there's they went too far with the reciprocating saw. So there's always these little divots in the wall that you can't, and they didn't even patch them with spackle. It's not even hard to do. It's just not give a shit because this is already nicer than what they live in their third world shithole. And it's gross to see it because what it's done is it's eroded the American standard. I'll go buy a house. Oftentimes I'll look at a house, and if it's not built in the last couple of years where I know it was probably built with illegal labor, you find something that was built in the 1920s. My buddy has a house that was built in the 19-teens. He lived in this. I walked around. My mind was absolutely shaken. He lived in Montana in a tiny little house, and the house was less than $150,000. And it was a 3-bedroom house. The craftsmanship was insane. When I walked on the floors, there was no noise. The subfloor did not move. It was over 100 years old, and it didn't squeak. They had a full basement underneath. People used to actually do work in this country with the pride and expect that somebody was going to live in that and move their family into it and take up residence in there, and they would raise babies that would become the next generation of Americans. And now you've got people that are not Americans building that stuff, and they're slapping it up for a paycheck, and they're still getting paid way more than they should have in any other place, and they're taking the job from someone who should have got it. And it blows my mind. We've created this scenario. And it doesn't surprise me. One of the ladies who was out there requesting that people stand up and resist Donald Trump is this lady. Her name is Maggie Goodlander, but I think she pronounced it Goolander, which is funny. And she's talking to a single mom, and I'm going to just bag on the concept here. There are 3 problems with this phone call that I hear, and I want you guys to hear it, because she thinks this is an own. This is a way to go and resist the Trump administration or Republicans or whatever. I'm just going to point it out that politicians suck, and this one sucks too. She's on a phone call with a constituent who's a single mom who's paying $25,000 a year for health insurance. She calls it medical bankruptcy. I don't know what that is. Maybe you guys can tell me that there's a difference between that and normal health insurance. She's paying $25,000 a year for her insurance. It's going to go up to $40,000 a year. And she's hoping that government subsidies will drive that cost down because we're all supposed to stomach it. Meanwhile, I'm on like year 3 of not having any health insurance, and I put money away in case something happens. If she put money away, she's got 2 young boys. The odds of her needing $25,000 a year of medical insurance is almost none. She probably is not using anywhere near that in value. So if you put that in your pocket and you let it grow, after the second year, you got $50,000. After the third year, you got $75,000, and it can continue to grow on its own. Are you a complete moron, lady? Like, you do not understand it? She's a single mom, so she doesn't have a man in the picture, which means we keep seeing this in our society, not women specifically, but men and women have an impermanence to marriage. They are financially illiterate because they're putting money into a hole thinking they need something, and they can't do basic risk analysis. And I think that goes with the same exact problem, the same people that are like, oh, like, where are the guys on the job sites? Like, oh, you just ran them all off. You're okay with getting rid of the illegals. Yeah, I am okay with getting rid of the illegals. I'm also okay with government not subsidizing health insurance because I can do math. How did you think they made money? Somebody commented this morning to me, Democrats are so excited about the way that Obamacare worked that they're actually murdering healthcare CEOs in the streets in celebration. I don't think that's far off. Anyway, listen to this lady. Listen to the bad analysis that goes on here. And if you thought that, if this sounds reasonable to you, consider where you're at and whether or not you even get close to the value of what it cost. They're making money off you for a reason. Like, there's a reason that health insurance companies make tons of money.
Hello. Hi there, Ann. This is Maggie Goodlander calling. What you shared about the cost that you and your family are bearing right now, it's pretty eye-popping.
I definitely have lost sleep over this.
You're paying over $25,000 in medical bankruptcy insurance a year at this point. And now you're going to be paying over $40,000 on this plan.
I'm a single parent. I've been financially responsible for my boys for, most of their teenage years. What the new plan I've signed up for, which I am assuming I am not going to get the subsidies for, is just about $1,000 a month. It is $10,000 deductible per person.
Oh, jeez.
I don't even know what it is they're going to find that's, a network. It's an HMO.
Yeah.
If one of them gets hurt.
I just want you to know I'm going to do everything in my power. I'm working around the clock to get these tax credits extended, and I'm really grateful that you're sharing your story, because I got to tell you, a lot of my colleagues do not understand what this means.
Yeah, a lot of Americans do not understand what it means that you're throwing money after money. And it's like, why? Do you even understand? Like, your panic, your desire for safety is basically financially destroying you. It's crippling you. Most people do not get anywhere near the value out of what they spend. I found that out when I was looking at my paycheck when I was in the federal government. I was like, why on earth do we have this big of a deduction? There's nobody in this house that's on any kind of medications. There's no actual need for it. And the only way they justify it is because the government's gotten so involved that they'll charge you like $25,000 or $30,000 when you have a baby. And you're like, well, at least I got my money worth this year, because I would have got a $25,000 bill for having a baby. Meanwhile, my last child was born at home, and it was less than $8,000. I think it was like $6,000 out of pocket to go with a midwife. I'm grateful to write that check and keep the other $19,000 in my pocket. $19,000 a year is an awful lot of money for most people. And you're just, you're throwing that down? Like, she has 2 teenage boys. What sort of health insurance do they require? I had this funny thing where someone was like, well, what happens when, what do their checkups say? Like, I don't know. I haven't gone to a checkup in 8 years. I don't need a checkup. I just walk around. If I got a problem, I deal with it. If I don't have a problem, why do I need someone to tell me I'm fine? What about your wellness checks? Well, my wellness check is I look at my kid, their eyes are clear, they're speaking articulately at me, they wake up, they sleep, they're peeing and pooping, like, game over. Like, I don't need to have a doctor affirm that I'm doing a good job keeping my child alive. So this whole thing of like outsourcing this need for someone else to tell that. I mean, all of this is the same problem. It's like, man, if you want government, you're going to get it. Don't be shocked that it's crazy expensive, and their solution is always more government. My buddy Steve Friend said it the other day to me. He was like, shocking. The government solution to a problem is more government. Okay. Listen, this lady has the same exact argument. I do have a gift for you, so I'm not going to just like belabor you with this garbage. But I do want people to be more thinking and more conscious as they walk through life. I just feel like that's the reason why we're in this scenario. So many people have just given up the ghost. They've outsourced their thinking. What the news tells me is the truth. Not people who are listening here most likely, but a lot of your neighbors and colleagues and your friends and your family members. They're like, whatever the news tells me is the truth. The government wants the best for me. The solution to a government problem is more government. Like, it's a crazy person who's like, digging a hole and throwing the dirt right back into the hole. They're just standing there, and then sometimes some of it gets out and they even get deeper. Anyway, here's this is a woman who wants to be a senator, giving you the most illogical, like non-economically viable argument that I've ever heard. And then people are clapping. People who are likely in retirement age. I'm going to tell you something about minimum wage in a second here, because that's where her post is. She's talking about minimum wage. Let me give you some stats that might blow your mind on minimum wage in 1 second. Let me listen to the argument this lady makes.
Campaign to raise the minimum wage in Minnesota when I was the executive director of Children's Defense Fund. And we did that. We built a coalition of over 70 organizations, faith, labor, and nonprofits coming together to say people need a raise. We got it across the finish line, and the big fight that we had was whether or not we were going to index it to inflation. Mm-hmm. And we did, because we knew that the cost of living would continue to go up.
Oh, yeah. Why would it go up, lady, when you're just like pumping money into something by mandate?
They haven't raised the minimum wage in Washington, D.C. in over 16 years. So then we see some of these large companies who have people who are working who then also depend on SNAP because they're not paid a living wage.
I feel like the argument she makes is that SNAP is a bad plan, because we all pay for it, and it's benefiting corporations that can underpay people for the amount of money that they should be working for. Is that what I heard? Because I agree with that. Let the market suss it out. Get rid of that. That'd be fine.
And so these big companies are also profiting from the fact
that they're
not paying their workers enough, and then their workers turn around and reinvest those SNAP dollars at their place of employment.
Okay, got it. So what I heard there was socialism is the way. Here's the best part about that argument. You ready? About 55% of the American workforce works at an hourly rate. And about 1% of that 55%, 1.1%, earns minimum wage. And most of them are in tipped positions, it turns out. Like a huge chunk of them are in tip positions. Nobody earns minimum wage, statistically. A statistically irrelevant part of the population earns minimum wage. So why are these people cheering for it? What made them do that? And at the end of it, that's what happens. At the end, it's just like a bunch of like gray-haired boomer libs that are like, yay, like, let's go raise the minimum wage and save the American workers. Let's bring in a bunch more illegals, which drive the rate down. Let's screw over people that we're trying to save and then get more government to fix it. It's just so dumb. I just feel like we're not in a serious place. And meanwhile, they got this. No border patrol in Raleigh. We have to do an emergency protest. Leave your jobs. Come at 5 p.m. Who's free at 5 p.m. if they have a traditional job? It's a Tuesday. It's a weekday. Go to Moore Square. Brr, and then they march around and do that. You know what drives me even more crazy? It's dual English and Spanish, like we talked about the other day. The guy that's lived here for 40 years, he's an American citizen, but he speaks only broken English, and he's worried that he's going to get stopped by immigration. Dude, you probably should get stopped by immigration. You don't freaking speak English in America, and you've been here for 40 years? I mean, what the hell? How did you survive? Nothing makes me more furious than seeing everything in English and Spanish at the same time, especially when it's Spanish first, which I keep seeing at a lot of our churches. So a lot of these churches with this sort of lib, love the poor attitude, it's not loving the people that are in your country. You are selling them out. You're screwing them over. And we're not raising these people to a new standard. We are ruining our standard. At what cost? Again, socialism means everybody gets to starve together, right? So they're doing this stuff. It's really hard to watch. And I don't think they're winning it. When Alex Jones was saying earlier on that little clip, I need Trump to win. Some of us actually needed him to do the thing he said. And most of us were realistic and said that he probably wasn't going to get there. He's not there. some of these policies are terrible. Like what happened to the tariffs thing? We're going to get a $2,000 rebate. I mean, I just look at it and I just go, stop lying to me. Play the game as it is currently being played. Stop trying to win a messaging battle from 2018 when we are in 2025 and people have the ability to look around and read their own statistics and AI can pull things. Look, they couldn't even do that in the first Trump term. The AI grabs where you can go out there and find out what is the percentage of people that are getting SNAP benefits in Brooklyn, New York, boop, and you can get it. You find out that 40% of people in the Bronx, in one of the boroughs of New York City, are on SNAP benefits. That's insane. We are living a completely illogical thing. So we are subsidizing at a crazy level. Hence the episode we did the other day about socialism's already here. Like we already have it. How about running back on that? How about actually doing the thing you said? Anyway. I don't think we're going to get there, which is why you should prepare yourself for whatever is ugly. Somebody asked in the chat earlier. I did see you guys say that. What do you think the odds are of civil war? I think it'll be still regional conflict. I think places where there are too many people, where the anxiety, where you can get 1,000 people to go in your streets and protest, those things might get bad. And I think people who live in rural areas will continue to be living in rural areas, and you'll live great. Why I want to move further away from people. There's a lot of America still out there, folks. It just turns out the people who have money have gone out to the places where there's a lot more space. Go look at rural property right now. It is crazy expensive compared to what you can buy for it. Because some people are like, I've got the means and safety for my family and further away from other crazy human beings is better. And I'd rather trade money for my family to live than to live in this urban convenience where we're going to get slaughtered, where we're going to get overrun by like Muslims in Dearborn or whatever the hell it is. So all of that stuff's pending. I didn't even plug this one time, but I should have. Make sure you're liking this video if you guys are watching. If you guys are still sticking around, this is gone. I'm not going to turn into a rant. I'm going to end the rant. I'm flabbergasted they continue to try to gaslight us with this garbage. So find us on Rumble. It's rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Give us a like over there. We were on the leaderboard yesterday. We were even above the Julie Kelly interview on Rumble. On the leaderboard. So that's cool. That's you guys giving us the like. Also, like us on YouTube. Appreciate that. We just crossed over 500,000 views for the year, which is a big step because we used to get almost no views. I used to get 60 views per video. Now we're getting several thousand per video on YouTube. That's because of you guys and you're awesome. So we appreciate that. And then if you want to watch us on Spotify, that continues to grow. More and more of our audience is realizing it's a better viewing experience. There's no money involved in it for us. It's just better. I just think switching between audio and video is great. So that's KyleSeraphinShow.com. Locals, you'll see some fun stuff. I will post the song I am about to give you guys because we need it today. I think we need this extra fun song, which is also on YouTube. And I put the YouTube link in the description for the folks on YouTube. Like it, share it, subscribe to us, do all those things. Yeah, let's just do something fun. I need to smile. Now, I didn't ask this guy for permission, so I hope you will go visit his channel. He's definitely a lefty. He probably doesn't agree with us on politics about almost anything. But the way that I grew up was that if somebody is a talented artist, musician, whatever, then we can love it. Right? We don't care what their politics are. I don't necessarily want to know what an actor thinks about things. I know what this guy thinks. This dude kills it with this song. This song is epic. You should try to find a download of it. I'm going to put it over on Locals too, and I will refer to his website. Run up some clicks for this guy, even if you don't like his other stuff, because this is freaking hysterical. I didn't talk it up enough. I promise you. This has now gone what I call the Bew loop. I sent it to 5 people in the FBI, and then after 6 days, people in the FBI are sending it back to me. That's how I know this is all over the FBI. Enjoy the FBI's.
Yeah, honey, my baby. All into me. Yeah, honey, baby, all to me. Yeah, hey. Welcome to my FBI's. A flippy eyeball surprise. I'm focused on catching bad guys. Just fly in the friendly skies. Don't be staring in my FBI's. I fired all the talented guys. Whip by my honey pot pies. Tweet into the Bureau surprises. An agency, oh so rash. Investigating outcomes last. Announcing things real fast. That's my style, I'm Director Kash. Look into my FBI's. Black leather on my wee little thighs. Nookie as a mock up, Jeff Jet flies. Loyalty to just one guy. Look into my FBI's. Crooked like most wanted guys. Tiny like pocket size. Hiding all the Epstein files. Yo, come and get on this private jet to a big event to see his girl set. Taxpayers lament, but she hot baby bad. She do not fret that his eyes be bent. He's chopped and cuffed. Was locker stuff. Ain't calling Trump's bluffs, cause he gives him stuff. If he sound in a huff and you done had enough, then he say that's tough, he's about to get rough. Welcome to my FBI. My list of foes down inside. Some stopping bad terrorist guys. And none arrested, so maybe it's lies. Don't be mad at how I downsize. Had to snuff out some liberal spies. Now my caviar is always supplied. And all my people pray that I'm fired. Look into my FBI's. Black leather on my wheel thighs. Looky as my Issa Kiev jet flies. Loyalty to just one guy. Look into my FBI's. Crooked like most wanted guys. Tiny like I'm pocket size. Hiding all the Epstein files. Yeah, how did it be? Yeah, how did it be?
I really hate that sad loser, Mr. Newberger.
Who, me? All right, it's Jeremy Newberger on YouTube. Awesome stuff, regardless of your politics, man. That thing is so damn catchy. And the entire 7th floor at the Hoover building was dancing to it. They felt bad about it, but they danced to it anyway. You guys know what I'm talking about. All right, make sure you've liked this thing. I'll see you guys again. I'm going to try to get a Steve friend in, violate the FBI's policy. I think he got a warning about hanging out with me. He's just a hobbyist podcaster talking to his bro. There's no money involved if Steve Friend joins us for a Friendly Friday. Tell him to go back to those wee little thighs and the leather pants thing. Dude, AI is so gross. All right, God bless you guys. Have a fantastic Thursday. I hope that brought your spirits up. It brought mine up.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.